This week on the Linux Action Show, is the call for a full-featured Linux video editor finally being answered? We discuss. Sony taking away your Linux got you down? We've got the answer. Take out your retro hat and get ready for the return of OS 2, running on Linux. Then the future of Linux file systems is all about the butter, and it is goddamn delicious. Plus so much more. All this week on the Linux Action Show. And welcome to the Linux Action Show, Season 11, Episode 8. My name is Brian. With me is Christopher.
Hey there. Hey there, Brian.
I'm going with Christopher from now on.
Thank you, sir.
I feel like it makes you more pro.
You should have warned me. I would have put on a suit and a tie.
Yeah.
Maybe a little...
Hello, Christopher.
Hello there, Brian. Thank you for having me on the Linux Action Show today.
Christopher, could you tell me what runs Linux
Absolutely,
today?
Brian.
Thank you, Christopher.
The Unique PC runs Linux. It's actually a really cool device.
So wait, the what?
Unique PC. So it's an all-in-one
Is
PC.
it red?
It comes in a couple of colors.
That's awesome.
It's kind of got some unique features. It's got a rubberized edging around it.
Are those are Mac icons?
Yeah, it can run Windows or Linux, but they do use
Mac
they interchange.
icons.
Not all Mac, like
with an Internet Explorer
yeah,
icon.
Yeah, it's got a nice
What
Internet
in the
Explorer
heck?
icon there.
Okay, so that's obviously not a real screenshot. That's just a weird Photoshop
It's a CG
thing.
render. Now check
All
this
right.
thing out. It has a Atom N2070 processor with 2 gigs of RAM. You can also get it with, like I mentioned, XP embedded. Pretty nice little box. But I really like some of the extra features here. I'm going to jump over to their main page because one of the things is the stand it's on is like this rubberized deal that you can actually like connect to other stuff, and you can get this thing with an antibacterial coating even.
Okay,
so you can, like,
now
use
wait a
this as
minute.
kiosk stuff. You
All
can
right,
put this
hold
in
on.
places.
Hold on.
It's crazy.
So you can make your computer rubberized and
Yeah.
antibacterial.
Yeah, right.
So go ahead and keep talking.
Well, I mean, check that out. So look, if you want to put it on a stand,
Yeah.
touchscreen.
Yeah.
Are you?
Oh, it has a touchscreen?
See, point of sale. The point of sale possibilities with this thing are strong, but also they're also strong like in the medical field and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, okay. Now I'm getting it.
I don't know. It could be a
I
cool
was
little
for
way
a
to
second
do.
there thinking it's just like a really dirty like basement nerd gets this. You know what I'm saying?
It could be a really cool way to do like point of sale machines.
It could.
I'm not sure.
It
We'll
could. Is
see.
it multi-touch or just single touch?
I think it's just single touch.
That's okay. Who
Yeah.
needs multi-touch? Multi-touch is stupid, guys.
But it's got aluminum housing, passive cooling, so it's nice and quiet. Low power consumption.
what's
so
the specs on it? Like
it should work in a lot of places. It's got a, I think it's the medium to low end Atom processor. You can get it with 2 gigs
so is
of
it like
RAM.
the one in like the netbooks that
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
has?
It's the whatever the clock is of the N270.
So the 1.6.
I think it's 1.6.
Atom 270. Yeah. Okay, so basically
Yeah.
the same as like the HP Minis and everything else.
Yeah.
Like the Dells.
Yeah,
That's not bad.
It's netbook components, but in this kind of a cool approach to it. And
All right, so I
think
wasn't
it's
actually
mostly-
paying attention to anything, so I was just looking at the pictures. Did you say how much it cost?
Oh well, no, but I think it's like around $300-400.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah, no, it's a great little deal.
Hell, I'd pay $300 or $400 just for a nice collection of antibacterial rubber.
I had a client actually who just bought a bunch of those. What's that HP all-in-one touch machine called? You know, the one you developed for a little while. What's that?
The Touch Smart.
Yeah, the Touch Smart.
Yeah.
They just bought a whole bunch of those.
They're fun.
Fun
little
to
rigs.
put in the rooms of their clinic.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you go in there and they look all high tech and fancy and whatnot. So
Yeah, no, they make you look futuristic.
do you have any update on your goats, or should we say hello to our boys at GoDaddy?
You want me to update my goats?
Well, I'm just wondering. You mentioned the goats last time.
Everybody, it's been 1 week since our last Goat
Right.
Watch update, and
Right.
the goats are now 1 week older.
Nice, dude.
Nice. That means that they are not as young
That
as
was
they once were.
That was my subtle way to give you a second to load up the GoDaddy ad read.
Dude, it's already up.
Oh,
Boom,
all right.
there.
Well, let's say hello to
I
our
had
boys.
I had the tab all ready to go.
Look at you going.
Who's pro?
I shouldn't have doubted.
Hey, Chris.
Huh?
Topher?
Yeah.
Christopher?
Yeah.
Who's pro?
You're pro, Brian.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. This episode of the Linux Action Show is sponsored by GoDaddy.com, the world's largest domain name host and whatever registrar. They make websites. You put it on the internet. If you're ready to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has got you covered with domain names as low as $1.99. Plus
What?
world-class hosting, unlimited disk space, unlimited. You just get like a GoDaddy thing and upload like 70 bazillion petabytes. Just like download the internet, mirror it to your GoDaddy host.
Well, why doesn't
Just try that out.
archive.org just do that?
Why doesn't they? It would only cost them like $2.
I know, right?
to host all of archive.org.
Boy, we just solved their problem.
Way to go. You're welcome. Do-it-yourself website builders, dedicated servers, SSL certs, so much more. Plus, as a Linux Action Show listener and viewer, you just enter promo code Linux because you like Linux at checkout, and you take an additional 10% off the entire order. So if you order $1 billion, you just took off $1 million.
Thanks.
I just saved you $1 million.
Good job, buddy.
You're welcome.
You could also use the code Linux20.
You could if you wanted to.
Save 20% off. Shared hosting and regular hosting.
Dude.
Right?
If you just spent $1 billion on shared hosting,
you're welcome.
We just saved you
$2
million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, wait.
Numbers.
The math just got like twice as hard.
It's really...
It went from 10% to 20%. Oh, no. There we go. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks again, GoDaddy, for doing all the things.
I thank you to GoDaddy for their long-term sponsorship of Linux Action Show. All right. I wanted to show you, everybody, the coolest little Android app I've been using this week. Now, some of you out there might have concerns about privacy.
Nope.
This pick is not for you.
I hate privacy. I think that if we had less privacy, more transparency, perhaps, it would be fantastic. That's why I have been an advocate of glass houses.
Right. Yeah, and also monitoring devices in everyone's TVs.
Oh, dude.
Now,
my TV, every TV I have should have a webcam built into it, just like my laptop, and it should just be on all the time.
Right.
That way, everyone knows what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and talk.
Well, now, I am an IT consultant by day, and one of the hardest things I do
by night.
A podcaster. One of the hardest things that I do is
which one is nerdier?
Probably the podcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, IT support's getting kind of mundane.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like we're practically just like accountants.
Yeah.
Or taxidermists.
Yeah, it's getting like that.
Yeah.
So I take a lot of calls, especially when commuting. It's really hard to know how to track those for billable or to track what I did with my time during the day. Because even if I'm not billing, I have to account for what I've been doing.
You sure do.
And I get a lot of calls. And so if you're moving from one emergency to the next emergency, you kind of lose track of what happened in your whole day.
Yeah.
So I found this really nice, really lightweight application for Android called CallTrack. Now, the purpose of CallTrack is every call that I receive, make, or miss is overlaid on top of a Google Calendar. So at the end of the day, I can go to calendar.google.com and I can see a whole readout of all of my calls for that day. And then I can see how long they were, and I can go right into the calendar and I can add notes to that call. Oh, yeah, I talked to this person about their computer crashing, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of the day or the end of the week when I need to do my billing, I can go back and review my calendar. Thanks to CallTrack, it's all in there. And I can also see just kind of a visual layout of, I can almost get some interesting statistical trends. Like this client always seems to call me on Tuesdays and things like that. So that is CallTrack. That's one word. You can find it in the marketplace or the links in the show notes. And then a secondary pick is I also came across this site.
So now that's great.
Uh-huh.
But what happens, let's say, if you want to fake that information?
Oh, yeah. I was just saying before the show, there is also a program called Super Call Log Faker, which anytime you add super to anything, it's awesome.
That's absolutely right. It worked for Nintendo. It'll work for you.
All you got to do is this program will automatically fake generate call log entries.
That's the way to go. If you're an independent consultant and you're charging by the call, Super Fake Call Log Faker is for you.
It is pretty funny. Now, the site that I'm using is called AppBrain. Now, this is a really cool site because it ties in with there's a little corresponding program you use on your Android that uploads your entire application list to AppBrain, and then it can go through and recommend other applications and things like that. So I have a profile on there. All my applications I can manage. It tells me when there's updates. Android doesn't actually yet have a way to install all available updates. So like me, I'm getting like 120 apps on my Droid, and I have to update one each individually through the marketplace.
Really dumb.
Yeah. So this program kind of helps fill that gap a little bit. It tracks online and then sends a cue to the program on the Android phone. Really great site. Also keeps track of how much money you've spent in the Android marketplace. So check out AppBrain. And over at appbrain.com, you can find the CallTrack program and the Super Call Log Faker. Also, you'll find it in the show notes for this episode.
Fantastic.
What do you think, buddy?
Well, I think we just helped a lot of people be a lot less ethical in their job.
You're welcome, everyone.
Hey, employers of the world.
And now that you can fake those calls, you've got extra time. So let's do the news. What's
new in the news this week?
All right, Brian. I'll tell you. our top story.
Thanks, Christopher.
On the news docket for this week, a powerful video editor known as Lightworks to be released as open source.
I say, who's a what now?
Now, we've talked so much about this. Now, the company that's doing this is EditShare. They bought Lightworks in 2009, and it's a pretty sweet-looking video editor. I haven't played with it myself, but it's actually, I think, even been involved in movies that have won an Academy Award or something like that. So, pretty powerful
I like
edit suite
something
here.
like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think their plans are soon. They're beginning the process of open sourcing it, and I think they're shooting for Q3, and we're in Q2 right now.
Yeah.
So that's soon.
Yeah.
And
Q2.
You can sign up to be notified when I already signed up, and when I did, there's already 5,000 people in line.
Yeah.
But that's just to get a notification of it. So I'll definitely check it out as soon as I can.
I mean, come on. Every Linux news site and every podcast in the world should simultaneously explode when that happens.
Well, what I really like about it is what they say they're planning to add. So they're not just kind of like end of lifing it and open sourcing. They're actually going to continue to build on it. They plan to make a market around plugins and other like ways to add stuff to the program. So the core program will be free, and then they're going to have like a marketplace to add different functions. Some of those things are going to be like
awesome.
Additional input-output devices, the ability to support RED cameras. That's really big.
That's huge.
All these different kinds of things they're going with. 2K support, which is higher than 1080p. The next step after that's going to be 4K. And then they're also working on something called Universal Media File Support, which means you can work with other media programs, theoretically, such as QuickTime, or such as Final Cut and Avid. I think that's going to involve some sort of plugin system.
Is there any word on exactly what platforms it currently supports?
I don't know. I haven't seen that now. That's a good question because the assumption was made that it was Linux. But it might not be Linux. I hope. If anybody in the chat room maybe knows, or I hope we're talking Linux.
Yeah,
if nothing else,
I've been looking around for a little bit, and I didn't see anything this morning. So.
If nothing else, I think we're probably going to have a port fairly quickly. If you do something if you open source it and it's truly in a license that's open, I think we're going to be having ourselves a Linux video editor pretty soon, and a really good one at that. So really excited about that, and that's going to be called Lightworks.
Everyone's covering it as if it's coming. It's on the
and
Linux
a lot of Linux news sources are covering it. So I hope that's not just an implication because it's open source means Linux. That's not always the case.
Certainly not. I'm using the power of Google right now, everybody. I'm saying, okay, hey Wikipedia, tell me about Lightworks.
Yeah, well,
watch this. Boom. Okay. There we go. It's from Britain.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yep.
Operating systems. Windows, Mac, Linux.
It does say Linux. Yeah.
Kaboom, everybody. Kaboom. Verified by Wikipedia. Never wrong. Kaboom.
I like that. Go. So it's a pretty slick looking editor. Take a look at that thing if you're watching the video version.
Yes. This is kind of exciting because that means that come a little later this year, we could have this being all rock out awesome with like this extensive plugin suite behind it. PTV, which is finally getting to the point of usability and like real being awesome, and the OpenShot side of things, which is looking really rad too. I mean, granted, this thing kind of blows everything out of the water.
The funny thing about it, in my opinion, is one of the biggest deals for this would be if that universal file format is a good high-resolution format that can actually work between multiple editors, because right now you really end up in this sort of silo. If whatever editing program you go with, you're stuck with that container format. And we really need now. Avid has some open source solutions. There's things like Huffy YUV out there. And there's lots of codecs out there to solve this problem, but they all have major drawbacks to them. I'm really excited to hear more about this universal video file format, because when you're working in really high resolution stuff, you need a really high resolution format that you can then later on put out to OGG or H.264, but you have to edit in something high res to begin with. Otherwise, crap in, crap out. So I'm hoping that this is awesome.
Crap out.
Kind of like, everything else in life, Brian.
You've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
If you put crap in, you get crap out.
Crap out.
All right, Brian, the next story on the news docket is something we haven't talked a lot about because it's one of those things where...
We haven't?
I don't think we have.
I feel like I've talked about this topic that we're about to mention that is very mysterious to everybody right now. A great deal.
Now, what we're discussing is the fact that recently Sony pushed out an update to remove the ability to install Linux on the PlayStation 3.
Not cool, Sony.
Not cool.
Not cool.
Usually when a consumer buys something, it generally goes over kind of like a bag of rocks if you try to take something away from them.
Seriously.
You never like getting stuff taken away.
Nah. Cool.
Not cool.
Not cool.
Not cool, guys.
That'd be like Nintendo selling me a Wii and be like, that's awesome. Now give me your stupid Wiimote things. Yeah. And here's an old NES controller.
Well, that would be better.
That'd actually be awesome.
That'd be
awesome. I'd be like, wow, so you made it a functional video game console.
Yeah.
Okay. So bad example, but in this case, it'd be like, here we go. It'd be like Nintendo selling me a Wii.
Yeah.
If it could run Linux.
And then they took it away.
And then they took away the ability.
Oh, man, that would be awful. That'd be so
awful.
ridiculous. Who would do that, Brian?
That's right.
An idiot would do that. So this blurry video that I'm showing in the background on the video version of the show is a video by a guy named GeoHot. GeoHot comes from some iPhone hacking fame, and what he has done is made a custom firmware for the PlayStation 3, allowing you to now install Linux. Now, of course, this is really in the early stages here, but the idea is I find it funny. The idea is now the community is going to come around and make a PlayStation 3 firmware that lets you run Linux. And you know what's going to happen is eventually they're going to work around that hypervisor lock-in that the PlayStation does that reduces performance where you don't get native access to the hardware.
And it'll run better.
And it's going to run better. And because Sony made this step, the community just said, all right, well, now we have to do this. If you didn't force it's almost like, it's not an ultimatum, but if you take something away, the community is going to just find a way around you.
No.
And all you're doing is just creating a sub-market that's now going to go far beyond the boundaries you originally let us go.
Whoops.
So they really just opened Pandora's box.
That is a whoops-a-daisy on the part of Sony.
Yeah. I don't understand why Sony had to do this. It's East Coast Girl in the chat room saying that they considered it a hole and it was something they needed to take away, when in reality this was a differentiator for their entire gaming platform. And not for some people, but for people that really needed it, it was a huge deal. And so
it was. Plus, it was awesome. It was a geek toy.
You know what?
I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
You buy the PS3 over like a 360 because you can install Linux on it. Just to install Linux on it, even if you don't use it full time, it made your insides feel all warm and squishy, and you liked that warm feeling. So you bought that one.
Well, and also there's an implication of Sony's interpretation of their customer base.
Yeah,
there's an implication that that we're not as smart as they think, as they don't think we're as smart as we are, or something. So I'm going to follow this firmware with specific interest, because if it looks like it's going the right direction, I'm going to put it on mine.
Or maybe they just forgot how feisty and stubborn the open source world is.
When's the last time you're like, oh boy, I can't wait for that PlayStation 3 firmware update of any version, of any update? You can say that about the Xbox, but you've probably never felt that way about the PlayStation 3.
Yeah,
I'm sure some
really
people have. So for me, if I have to load some sort of third-party firmware to get Linux, I'm totally down with that, especially if it's looking like a good firmware. I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Sony, you screwed the pooch.
Screw the pooch, Sony.
Not a good job.
We declare
a good job.
All right, Brian. The next story on the news docket
is ridiculous.
I thought you'd be all over this.
Oh, I'm all over it. All right.
Rumor has it OS 2 might be seeing a return soon.
Yeah.
IBM is considering relaunching OS 2, but now check this out.
Okay.
This is some craziness. It's going to be the OS 2 graphical interface on top of a Linux core.
You want to bring up some screenshots of OS 2?
Of good old OS 2?
Search for OS 2 Warp 4, and that'll give you the latest.
Now
or you can just go to whatever they're called, Ecom Systems.
Check
them out.
Boy, all
right, so OS 2, for those of you who aren't familiar, OS 2 is awesome.
It is pretty cool.
Was super awesome.
Back in the dizzle.
So I ran OS 2 for several years. It was my platform of choice. And why was it my platform of choice? Because I'm a nerd and I like to really tweak things.
Yeah.
OS 2 was great. I ran OS 2 Warp 3 for several years because you could run OS 2 applications.
Right.
You could run DOS applications. Yep. You could run Windows applications. In fact, you could run a completely self-contained version of Windows inside of it.
And stable as heck.
Stable as crazy heck. You know how like Windows 3.1 was just a piece of dog poop, right? It was super crashy. Oh, by the way, go back to that chess screenshot.
This one?
Yeah, chess screenshot. I like to point out that right there is OS 2 3D chess back in the early 90s. What game ships with modern Macs? Oh, just 3D chess that looks almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
20-some years later.
Yep,
way to
true,
go,
dude.
being cutting edge Apple.
That's so true.
But it was really great. It was just very, very powerful.
Oh, man. So that was OS 2 prime Netscape days.
Oh, it was great.
Man, remember old Netscape?
Oh,
with
I loved
the N
it.
with the flying star.
Oh, with the thing.
Oh,
yep.
wow.
Oh, dude,
that
it was
brings
great.
it back.
So now they're not looking at bringing back OS 2.
No.
They're not bringing back the kernel. Basically, they're bringing the discussion is that people within IBM are trying to reboot
an OS 2 compatibility project almost, to release a version of Linux that has the OS 2 presentation manager, which is like saying like GNOME or KDE on the Linux side, as the desktop environment, as the programming libraries.
I can't
to
see
run native.
Oh,
that have binary.
They're talking about the
compatibility.
libraries too.
Yes.
Oh.
To run native OS 2 32-bit presentation manager applications, essentially on a Linux kernel. This is cool in that, the OS 2 presentation manager is nice. But it's not modern. It's old,
that's the
and
thing.
it's busted. I mean, current GNOME, current KDE, GTK, Qt,
Right.
all of that stuff is light years ahead of it at this point.
And
So the big benefit is for like financial institutions and the like that are still using OS 2,
or like
can now move to this version, have new hardware support, go out and buy off-the-shelf HP whatevers and netbooks, run OS 2 on it, which honestly I really like the idea of.
It would be cool to play with.
Here's the thing, I'm gonna do that.
I wonder if they
but
go
I'm a
open
unique
source.
thing. I don't know if they. I don't think they would.
I don't think so either. Now I know that OS 2 still is in use today in as the mainframe, as like mainframes oftentimes will have a companion controller computer, and those run OS 2.
Yeah.
And all of the mainframe controls are all based on OS 2.
So I came from the BBS days. So like, before I was a Linux guy, and before my few very troubled years as a Mac guy, I was a DOS guy. Well, I was also an Amiga. I liked computers, Chris.
Yes, sir.
I like to play with them.
Yes, sir.
But for quite a few years there, I ran BBSs, right? Because I was a nerd and I was a teenager when BBSs were cool and the internet didn't really exist yet.
Yeah.
It kind of did,
It
but,
was
but
in
only
early
for a couple
days
of universities.
Yeah.
And, well, there just wasn't enough illicit materials on it. So
you had to wait for the content
I
build-up.
had to wait for the illicit content, ladies and gentlemen. No, but you know what I'm saying. No one
Yeah,
was
I
on the
do.
internet then.
No.
So I ran a couple BBSs. OS 2 was like the way to run BBSs back then.
Yeah, you weren't gonna run on-
because all BBSs, all the good ones anyway, were DOS based at that time. And of course, you didn't want to just run DOS because that sucked.
Right.
You just want a single line desktop PC running DOS. Who did that back in the
Nobody.
early 90s? That's lame. And what was I going to do? Run Windows? Come on, people. Come on. That was going to stay up for like 4 hours. That just wasn't going to happen.
No.
I mean, Windows, like even up through Windows 95, no one expected it
absolutely.
to have uptime measured in more than hours. That's just how it was.
No, yeah. It was awful.
So, but OS 2, that thing would rock for months without a reboot on the crappiest hardware a teenager could hobble together. It was glorious.
Yep.
So I love the idea of it coming back. I have no idea why they would possibly spend more than $3 doing it.
I know. I think there is. I'm looking at all these old screenshots of OS 2. It's such a trip down memory lane. I think what it is there's a huge portion of IBM shops that are on IBM systems that still use OS 2.
Now, there's a company called Ecom Systems, I believe, who acquired rights to continue updating OS 2, add new drivers to OS 2, and actually add new applications to an OS 2 distribution.
Yep.
Ecom Systems Incorporated.
I think so. I know who you're talking about. I know there's a company out there that IBM actually officially partners with to provide a
Ecom Station. That's what it is. The Ecom Station.
Yep.
So Ecom Station basically is Ecom Station 2.0 exists. It kind of everyone assumed was the re-existing, reimagined OS 2 pioneer.
We'll see.
And they're basically just continuing to update it. Like you can run. They have a port of OpenOffice for it and everything else. And it's very.
It's kind of adorable. And
but I don't know what if IBM came out with this. Well, this just kind of puts these guys out of business.
Interesting. They've taken OS 2 and they've added support for ACPI power management.
Yep.
They've added some hard disk
They've
management
done
tools.
a lot of work over the years.
They've added some new file system options as well. Also, they've added Samba firewall configuration tools.
I ran
pretty decent.
OS or Ecom Station like 1.2 or something like that for a while, and it's great.
Yeah.
They did a remarkable job. It's awesome if you were an OS 2 fanboy and a holdout. But
2.1 of Ecom Station is going to have cups printing, more Samba server stuff, and Open LDAP.
yeah, but then again, if you build all this on top of a Linux base and just pour it over the presentation management, you just get that for free because Linux is awesome.
Yeah. So when you say
So I guess I get
presentation
that.
management system would be essentially X11.
Yeah, No. It's more like GNOME. It's more like the
Okay,
desktop
so it's more like the
environment
window
and the
manager.
libraries and the development tools, and you develop.
So they just
presentation
consider
management
all of that part of.
It's part of the PM.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, and
It's
if
kinda
they ship
interesting.
it and it's free, I'm going to download and throw it in a VM and play with it for sure. Probably even put it on my AAA.
Oh, dude, it would be great on Triple E. But
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Dude, though, seriously though, if you're gonna run a retro dead OS on a netbook, Haiku,
Yeah.
because I mean, if it's not Linux and
Yeah.
you're putting it on a netbook, what are you doing not installing Haiku? Because
Yeah.
theoretically, have you seen this?
What?
The Haiku guys are paying developers. Have you seen this?
Now, what do you mean? Tell me about this.
So they took donations.
Just take
They
all
had
of this.
people.
Yeah, I know.
Hop
They
on
knew
over
they're
there.
taking donations.
They took donations. They piled the donations together, and they didn't get a ton. They don't have like $1 million or anything, but
Right.
they have some thousands here and a couple thousand over here. And they're actually paying developers on a contract basis.
Oh, that's a good way
to
to do
do development. So, like, there's a developer who was porting,
good.
building a WebKit browser for Haiku. A nice, modern, fast browser, and it's really nice at this point.
It would be nice.
They're paying him like, I don't know how much, like $5,000 or something to beef it up, to bug fix the heck out of it, moving towards their next alpha release. And I think there's someone they're paying to work on the Wi-Fi side of things as well.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of work on Wi-Fi.
And they're really just banging through it. So I mean, it's been a while since we've had a new. It's called Web Positive is the new browser.
That's
But
really cool.
That I thought that was great to see that project actually moving forward, gaining real traction, have people actually putting some donation money behind it. Because I was a little afraid Alpha 1 was going to come out.
Yeah.
We were going to look at it and go, that's rad. And then it was going to disappear.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
But now it's nice to see it rocking, you know?
It is. It's good progress.
I don't anticipate Haiku's ever going to like take down Linux or anything like that. But
No, but it's funny you say that because this last week there was a few articles out there like, is the future of Linux doomed? Haiku. A lot of
What?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's like some blog
What?
post that then got picked up by affiliate news sites. It's
okay,
interesting
now
it
that's just ridiculous.
Came out this week, yeah.
That's just ridiculous. That's like saying, is Windows doomed? Oh my gosh, Mac. It's
Right.
not happening.
Right,
And,
right.
You know, even if Haiku sales do great.
Right.
So if they take 1% market share,
Right.
that affects
We're
Linux
not
in
selling
no
anything.
appreciable way. Yeah, it's just a community project building something really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
But-
I'm with you, dude.
But anyway, I just wanted to point that out because I thought they deserve some props just for actually getting the organization necessary together to pull that off.
That's a good use of the funds. It goes right
Dude,
back in and supports the
great
project.
use of the funds.
Yep, I like
Awesome.
this. I like
Awesome job.
All right, Brian. Well, that's all the news for this week. Last episode, we told you about the future of software development. In this episode, it's the future of your Linux file system. How do you like that?
That was a good intro,
Thank you,
man.
sir. Thank
you
you.
just came up with that?
Yeah. Just
all
like-
by yourself.
Like in that instant, dude. It was immediate.
Dude, whatever. You've been writing this for a while now.
No, I'm just that good, man.
Dude, seriously, this is the kind of quality you get when you watch Jupiter Broadcasting produced content.
Yeah.
We just rock this.
Yep.
It's like we have a hive mind.
I think
of
it's the caffeine,
thousands
really.
and thousands of people across the planet that are just piping good ideas into that Chia Pet head right over
Right.
there.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about the Btrfs.
Yeah.
Or, as it's commonly known, the B-tree file system. Or, as it's also known, the butter file system.
Yeah, buddy. Hey, what do you like? Butter.
I do like butter.
I put butter on all kinds of stuff.
So what kind of file system do you like? Like
Btrfs.
Describe your best file system. Well, I want it to have been milk at one time. I also want it to be slimy and creamy, and I want it to help get rings that are stuck off my finger.
You know,
And if I leave it out for long enough, I want it to get this weird crystallizingness to it.
and you want to put your file system all over your popcorn.
Yeah, you just dump it on your popcorn.
All
Just
right,
get it nice and hot.
So aside from the awesome
Leak
name,
through the bag
should,
and
we,
make it look like you messed your pants.
should we talk about why we want this to replace ext4 and ext3 in Linux? Because I think this is
we
a
should.
really great
I
file
think we
system.
should. So it's a great looking file system.
And your best early access to this is going to be in the new Fedora 3 that's coming out soon.
Fedora 13. Yeah,
They-
Fedora 3.
No, not Fedora 3.
That would have been Fedora Core 3.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that was how long ago that would have been.
I know. So Fedora 3 beta has got some of this in. You do have to turn it on during installation. Also, you can convert an extended 3 or 4 file system. I had
can you?
no idea
You
until
can
just last
convert
night.
it.
Yeah, I had no idea. You have to. It can't be your.
Oh.
It can't be like your. You have to boot off the install DVD or an external USB drive and then convert.
It can't be what you're booted off of.
Right.
But
But the biggest thing,
That's great.
I think the biggest thing that Btrfs or Btrfs is going to be introducing for Joe user. Now, there's a ton of great stuff we're going to talk about, but the biggest
Oh, yeah.
one for the users has got to be the snapshots. right?
That's pretty
Rollbacks and
rad.
snapshots.
Rollbacks and snapshots is rad.
And what I really like now, Fedora 13 really in the early stages of their implementation of it. But what I think is so awesome is they're introducing integrated in with the Yum package manager. It doesn't come installed by default. So I should preface this. In Fedora 13, Btrfs not used by default, and once you install it, you still don't have some of the stuff turned on.
Right.
But if you do follow all of the steps, or listen to Linux Action Show and just repeat what we say, you could install a Yum plugin to Fedora 13, which before every package is installed, it will take a file system snapshot. And then if that package screws your system up, you can just roll
yank
back.
it off. Yeah, no,
No
that's a
big-
nice way to go because honestly, this Butter file system is not yet ready for production
It's not,
systems.
No.
We need to preface this.
But
if
it's- I
you
think it's gonna
go
be it.
and convert everything you have to Butter, if you take all of your data and you turn it into Butter, and you're a little
And it
pissed
melts.
off because it goes away, it
Might
just
melt
melts,
on you.
and your PC just explodes.
Yep.
Not our fault. Don't come crying to us. It's gonna happen.
But if you're going to throw this on your test box, this is a great one to play with.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I think this
I'm
is
absolutely
probably...
gonna throw it into like at least a virtual machine so I can play with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, check out
I
some of
have
these
to.
feature sets, and I believe it's these feature sets that is Linux's potential answer to ZFS. It's not everything ZFS does, but it also does some things a little better. They've got online, on-the-fly defragmentation, which is good. Snapshots, which we mentioned. Sub-volumes, if you know what that is, you like that.
Yeah.
Check this one out, Brian. Object-level mirroring, like RAID 1 or RAID 0 striping at the file system level. File system-aware RAID-level mirroring and or striping. That blows my mind. That is
Awesome.
some sophisticated technology. In-place conversion,
Awesome.
that's a great feature. So people that are going to be moving down the road, like servers with very large file systems that are obviously going to be very backed up, and once Btrfs is ready, you're going to be able to convert your in-place data stores,
Awesome.
and you're going to be able to get these snaps. To have production systems with snapshots is a very nice feature.
It's huge. One of the other cool things I think is rad, data deduplication.
Dude, tell me about this.
Deduplication. You know how sometimes you want to duplicate things?
Well, no, I never want to duplicate. Wait,
you-
duplicate.
You never want. There you go. All right. So let's say, hypothetical.
Hypothetical here.
You got two pictures of you and your grandma, and you both have silly hats on.
Yeah.
Okay? This happens.
Two
this
pictures.
happens a lot.
Are they identical pictures?
They're the same picture.
Okay.
You made a copy of it because you're like, I don't want to lose silly hat with grandma picture.
No, there's important to you.
You have them in two completely different spots. Same bits. The file system goes, what the hell did you duplicate that
Yeah.
for? Deletes one of them, creates a pointer to it, so you never even know it's deleted. As far as you know, they exist in,
Yep.
in two different
Yep.
spots. Boom, taking up half the storage space.
I've used a backup
You go in
program.
there and you modify the non-existing one, recreates it because now it's not the exact same bits.
That's pretty awesome.
Awesome.
I've used a backup system called Backup PC that does this, and when you're backing up a bunch of systems, the amount of files that reduces is nuts. But now picture that on like a network corporate file server, where a lot of people have the same Word doc and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Huge, right?
Huge.
That could be a massive data saver.
Huge data saver.
So I'm excited about
Just
that.
super duper crazy awesome. The problem with this is it's 1.0. They've hit the
Yeah.
1.0 release.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
technically it's ready for prime time. But think of Btrfs 1.0, kind of like KDE 4.0.
Right.
It's like a developer release. It's like named 1.0 to
Yeah.
get it out there and get people using it. But to be honest with you, it's not ready for prime time.
No.
Now, one of the primary developers of the ext3 and 4 file systems, which, come on, that's what we use, Theodore So, came
yeah.
out and said that ext4 is a stopgap measure.
I
It is-
agree.
it is not the future.
I
It is
agree.
just something to use for a little
think so, too.
while. And that Btrfs is absolutely the way
I think so.
forward. And he mentioned that it has a lot of the same design ideas that the newest Riser 3 and 4 had.
Oh, okay.
Which
I
is
was a big
kinda cool.
Riser fan. I used Riser FS. I used to use SLS servers, and I used Riser FS.
Incidentally, I never realized this before, but did you know that Riser 4 was sponsored in part by DARPA?
No.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
They must have used it.
They must have, or
That's interesting.
wanted to use it, or wanted to have that powerful of a file system.
Huh.
But DARPA sponsored some of the development of Riser.
So one of the things we
Or
talked
Riser
a lot
4.
about was the rollback capability. Now, Btrfs has the feature for rollback in there, but right now, no distro is really connected a GUI to that. It's all command
Yeah.
line. Fedora is going to be introducing a way to roll back snapshots via grub, so you'll reboot, and there's going to be like a roll to your previous snapshot entry in the grub bootloader, and you're going to execute that. There's also talk about integrating rollbacks into the GNOME disk manager, so you can be inside. You just launch that. You can go in there and say, oh, I want to roll back. Then there's even some crazy talk about, I'm not sure why all this is so GNOME focused, but maybe because it's from Fedora. There's some crazy talk about actually integrating in a timeline slider inside Nautilus. So you go to Nautilus, there'll be a button, you go into restore mode, boom, timeline slider, you go, boop, 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 boop. Yep, I want that one. That file comes back. Right? That's cool. I know. That is so much better than like Time Machine or anything like that.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because first of all, things like Time Machine are based on a time. So an hour is the default, and if you go an hour and you change the file 3 times, you only get one version.
Right.
Whereas Btrfs is going to be based on file system changes, so you're going to have it at a change level, which is an important thing. And then also, in order to get access to the Time Machine backups, this is built into OS 10, you have to go into the Time Machine interface, which is a 3D accelerated interface. It looks slick enough, but the problem is on older machines, that interface performs so poorly that you actually run into the situation where you have to go out and find a third-party tool to restore your data because the older Macs can't actually render the interface to recover your data. When you're in a kind of a panic situation,
what can you do?
That's one of the most annoying things. Really, I have to wait for this 3D interface to render so I can recover my data. And the way it works is you have to fly through the windows. And it's a cool concept, but it totally falls down.
It totally doesn't work.
It totally doesn't work.
Like you can
Timeline slider though, I'm on board.
Timeline slider in
Nautilus. I'm cool.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Dude, you look at the specs for Btrfs. If they really pull off all of that, everything they're talking about for features, and they make it stable, that they're adding things that obviously will take up a bunch of extra space, obviously.
Yeah.
But they're also adding things that will save a bunch of space.
Yeah.
And they're also adding things that will save a bunch of data and keep things safer.
And you ready for the big thing?
I mean,
the big capper, the true capper to Btrfs is, depending on your configuration, early benchmarks are good.
Wait a minute.
Extended 3 doing here. Let's go through. First of all, Phoronix. How do you? I know I always Phoronix.
Yeah.
These Phoronix guys are stepping up their game. If you're into the nitty gritty of how things perform, they just did a great series on the Nuvu open source 3D driver and its power management capabilities versus the proprietary driver. If you are interested in that kind of stuff when it's like Linux hardware and performance, you've got to check these guys out. Do yourself a favor. They're a really great site.
They're awesome.
So yeah, they've done some benchmarks, and they've compared things like 1 megabyte files, writing 1,000 1 megabyte files to the file system.
Whoa. What's that? Dude.
So check this out. So check out these differences here. Extended 3 does pretty decent when the file system I/O sync is out. Nothing can be read before everything's written kind of a thing. Btrfs definitely holds itself at 25 megabytes a second. Extended 3 is coming in at 30 megabytes a second, right? But when you turn off the requirement for the file sync, which is not a nuts thing to do, Btrfs.
Holy God in heaven!
We're pushing 445 megabytes a second. Or files a second. I'm sorry, not megabytes, but files a second.
Which is crazy.
Which is intense, and it continues to scale
Look
as
at
you add more
XFS
files.
down there. Look at XFS down there with 39.7. XFS is like 8% of the speed.
I know.
Oh my God.
So I'm excited with everything we're saying. All these great things of Btrfs. I really think the performance is also going to be pretty stellar. And the other thing is there is some built-in intelligence into Btrfs to work in an SD environment. One of the things EXT3 and 4 are not very good at is being SSD aware. So there's things you do, you write things maybe a little differently, or you can do things slightly differently.
Try and not rewrite the same block over and over again. You only have so many erases per block.
Yeah, exactly. Btrfs also did fairly well on a few of the other benchmarks, but there's still some areas for improvement depending on where you look at it.
But I mean, it's not. There's no benchmark out there that I've seen though that it's like
it's horrible.
Like, oh my gosh, it's so slow. It's amazing. Now, and this kind of is interesting because if you look at some of the solutions that are out there right now, things like what's a good system that handles like some of like the dynamic storage and the RAID like
ZFS.
No, well just look at some of the things like Adrobo.
Yeah,
we'll do some of that, or Microsoft's Windows Home Server will do some of that.
Right.
Or if you set up your NAS quite properly on the Linux side,
you can do it with LVM on Linux.
You can do it with LVM, but in all of them, there's a noticeable speed hit.
Yeah, well, and there's also like this software overhead that's doing it. It's not integrated at the actual functional
part of the file
level
system.
Right.
So this is remarkable, and This is the kind of thing that actually makes me kind of like Fedora again.
Well, and
You know what I mean?
I have to say, I look at important things to Linux, and Fedora's been there. They've been there with AIGLX. They've been there with Compass. They've been there with Network Manager.
right
and
there.
And they're going to be there with
And
Btrfs.
they're consistently there.
I've never had a problem with their innovation level. In fact, I think Fedora is one of the most innovative distros and moves a lot of things forward.
They crank it.
My problem is the general implementation.
They're not ready for general public usage.
But that's how they get
Anyway.
these things out.
But
For us, that might be okay. But for a lot of people, see,
They can't really use Fedora.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't get into the whole thing with Fedora.
No, but I think this is great. I love that they're including this. I straight up love it. It gives them like 4 little gold stickers next to the Fedora name in my brain, and then an extra little "you did a good job, Bear" sticker in my heart.
Yep.
That's how much I like this.
It really feels like a modern file system. I
really
could
does.
be wrong, but it just feels to me like a
No,
and,
this is great.
and it goes up to 16 exabytes.
I mean,
exabytes.
think about Jagabaga.
That's a lot of data.
I don't even understand that much data.
No, here's a visual. Wikipedia has a visual representation. The exabyte is
What?
10 to the 18th power. Oh my gosh! If you're not looking at the video
That
version
is like
of this.
more stars than are in the universe. You know what I mean? That's just ridiculous.
So exabyte is so big that after an exabyte we have zettabyte and then yottabyte,
dude, yottabytes are awesome.
and then we've got nothing. That's how big that is. We've got nothing after that.
There's nothing after that.
The data stops.
We just haven't thought about that.
The
bit
world
yet.
ends after yottabyte, so they didn't need to put it in there.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is we are 80% of the way towards the world ending in
Yep.
terms of data storage,
Yep.
and we've done that in the last like 50 years.
It's pretty wild.
So way to go, us moving towards the world ending due to data overstorage.
I know.
But oh man,
I'm really
Just-
excited. I cannot wait to load it.
But if you think about what other systems are doing currently, like BIOS and Haiku had the BFS, are nice,
Right.
journaled, has a lot of these features, but definitely not all of them.
No,
and it
yeah.
had a few features that this doesn't, but still awesome.
It's this stuff plus SSD aware plus the performance.
But then if you look at what's Windows got, NTFS.
Oh, NTFS. Oh.
If you look at what Apple's
Slow.
got, HFS.
Oh, they both are hurting.
They're
They are both hurting.
2 terrible file systems by comparison to today's standards. I'm sure at one point they were fine. At one point they had great ideas. They performed pretty well. But
Back
nowadays,
in the early days,
even when you compare them against say ext4, they start to they lose
their
their
performance
gloss.
too. Yeah.
But now we're looking at we're looking at butter.
Yep.
We got butter coming, guys.
Yep.
Butter.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I'm really
Absolutely
excited.
love it. What I'm worried
I
about
really think
though,
it's the future of Linux file systems.
I'm worried that it's not going to get the development it needs because people are just not going to get behind it.
Yeah, but you got people that have worked on
hope so.
ext4 getting behind it. I think it's got momentum. Plus,
I hope
you've
so.
got.
I really hope
it's
so.
being worked into Fedora because Red Hat sees it as an awesome Red Hat Enterprise product. I think years down the road.
That is what they're thinking.
And so if Red Hat Enterprise, 5 or 6 or Red Hat 6 or 7 Enterprise comes out with Btrfs, the industry's just gonna kind of move that way.
Yeah.
It's kind of if they go that way, everybody else is gonna follow.
Man, I gotta tell you, if I was a Microsoft or an Apple, I would be looking at this and be like, yeah, let's invest in this file system. Let's Linux test bed it for us, and let's just use it for our next
and
platform.
You got to wonder too, like, are they looking
mean-
at this going, well, what do we got? What can we do? Because
seriously, because I mean,
this is GPL licensed, so they're not going to include it in Windows.
oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, so they're going to have to come up with. Maybe they can purchase rights to ZFS. I don't know if I ever see Microsoft doing that, but
ZFS. Or,
I could see
or-
Apple doing that. I
yeah.
could see Apple going ZFS. Maybe not now with
There were
Oracle.
rumors about Apple going ZFS for a long time,
Yeah.
but then they said no, it'll never happen.
Well, and
so.
I thought they ended up implementing read-only support in server. Like, what good is that?
Yeah,
You know,
it's but this is so exciting.
Yeah.
So incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
I'm pumped. That's all I can say about that. It
Yeah.
just looks great.
Hey,
I recommend checking it out.
I really do. And if you're gonna play around Fedora 13 in beta,
do
you might
not
as well play with it.
again put it on your production box. It's probably going to eat your children. If you're okay with eating your children.
Bugs are bad.
As Chris, are you okay with eating your children?
See, it is a good file
even
system, but
Chris
I'm gonna lean,
is on the fence on this
I'm gonna
one.
lean no.
He's
I mean, I
leaning
like a
no.
good file system.
All right,
Kid, though.
official Linux Action Show leaning no on your file system eating your babies.
I think so.
We're leaning no.
Hey, before we move on, I wanted to say, everybody, if you'd like to support the show or the network, you can head over to store.jupiterbroadcasting.com.
I gotta be honest, Chris. I'm not interested.
Oh, okay.
I do not want to support.
Then you
this
probably
show.
shouldn't have put the store together.
It's oh crap! I did do that, didn't I? I'm just saying. I don't think we deserve it. You know what I'm saying?
We've got all kinds of good stuff on there.
I mean, why would you watch or listen to the Linux Action Show? It's just
That's
that
true.
it's.
What
the
if you just
best
like cool gear?
in Linux news?
What if you just like cool gear?
Discussion.
We got a whole range of stuff on there. We got expensive stuff like
Plus,
like the camera
I
we
shaved my
use and the microphone. Actually, the microphones are cheap. We've got all kinds of stuff on there. Also, some gear we just recommend. Then also we've got swag. Either way, check it out.
Yeah, check it out. It's good stuff.
Store.jupiterbroadcasting.com. And we appreciate everyone who does that.
Yeah,
hey,
we
buddy,
probably do.
What do you say? That was a look at Btrfs, right?
It sure as heck was. So we've got. Well, you know what? Not even gonna talk about it right now.
Oh, we'll save that for the next segment.
And that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast.
Man.
I want to thank everyone for stopping by.
Yeah.
We got a crazy month ahead of us. Just nuts.
Big
So
stuff.
of course, Linux Fest Northwest this next weekend.
Yep.
If you're not going, well, that's okay. But
You should watch us for coverage
But
from
you
it.
should watch us for coverage of it.
Yeah.
But if you are in the Pacific Northwest region, you gotta go.
You do.
A, it's free, and 2,
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
And B, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Speaking both days.
I'll be there with a camera in front of my head.
Most likely. He's probably going to have a camera in front of his head.
Hopefully not behind.
And pie. There might be pie.
When there's always salmon.
There's salmon and beer, and we'll probably grab burgers at some point.
Yeah. And if you're going to be there or you just want to get a hold of us, there's a few ways you can do it. If you're going to be there, you got to follow one of these ways.
Dude, you got it.
Probably the easiest way to follow us or to let us know where you're at when you're at Fest or to locate us is on Twitter.
Yep.
Twitter.com/ChrisLAS.
And I'm the same domain, roughly, /Brian Lunduk.
And then also we've got the phone number. You can call us and leave us a voicemail. We didn't play any this week because our sound's a little funky, but we plan to
it's a
next
little
week.
quiet.
That's 425-533-2217. Or, of course, linuxactionshow@jupiterbroadcasting.com is the email address. And we'd love to hear from everyone out there. Feedback for the show, or if you're going to be at Linux Fest Northwest and want to meet up, that's how you get a hold of us.
You're hanging out. You're like, where you guys at? Where you guys at? I will be Twitter streaming it. I will be tweet streaming, whatever it's called. I will be using Twitter to post ridiculously short messages about what I may or may not be doing.
99.99% of our followers will not care about.
Absolutely true. I'll be like, oh
So
my
just
god!
hang it tight for like
guy?
that weekend, you guys. All right, just hang tight.
Yeah, I'm really, really sorry. and everyone, all of our German listeners, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
This is half
So
of
that's-
it is going to be
so that's-
derogatory against Germans.
that's
And
next weekend.
That's nothing against you Germans.
And
I
then-
love the Germans. Chris, don't I love the Germans?
No.
Yeah, Chris agrees. I love the Germans. But when you're in Bellingham, Washington is
Definitely.
renowned for making fun of Germans. Am I right?
I think they were known for smoking weed.
So are
and
those
being
not
hippies.
the same thing?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Never been to Germany.
I don't spend that much time in Bellingham, so we're going to really find out.
We'll find out.
This is
We'll
going
let
to be
you
a
know.
learning experience for everybody.
So okay, we've got Linux Fest next weekend, and
Yep.
then we've got Ubuntu coming out. We're going to do a
Ubuntu
review on that.
10.04 is the week after.
We've been running for weeks now, so we've got a big review coming up on
Yeah,
that.
I've been running for a month and a half. Yeah,
What else we got?
running it
coming up?
right here on this little netbook. This little EEE netbook, so trusty.
Oh, I still am using the crap out of mine.
I mean, the keyboard is still way too tiny, but this little guy is coming with me to Linux Fest. No, check this out.
I generally
Check this
hook
out.
up an external keyboard when I'm doing an OS release.
Yeah, so do I. And I have a little trackball I hook up, and I have a monitor I hook up because the
And a
EEE
CD-ROM.
has a VGA out port. Now I've got my little HP Mini 1000, which is faster, has a big hard drive,
Better
has
screen.
a better screen, better video card. Everything in it is better. No video out.
Oh yeah.
So-
not even HDMI.
No.
Huh.
There is a custom, it's not DisplayPort, it's not anything. It's just a custom HP only video output thing that works totally janky under Linux. That
I
costs
know.
like $70.
They pulled the total Apple.
And it sucks. So I don't have it. So but what I got is this little EEE. Awesome. And it works awesome. You plug it, you plug in a VGA monitor, boom, it's like, yeah, you just plug that in.
Yeah. Plus,
Hell yeah, I'm gonna
what I
display
like,
that.
not that like this EEE is like brand new, everybody's hearing about it for the first time, but still to this day, built-in storage with a removable SD, which most netbooks have, super handy.
Super handy. And it's
'cause you can
solid
have
state.
you can have your always OS on the built-in, and you get a nice fast SD.
You know what's
done.
horrible though?
Huh.
You know what's really horrible? The
What?
big reason, besides the fact that I can plug this in and use this for my presentation because of the VGA output. You know why I'm really bringing it? This thing is so cheap, And
if you lost it or get stolen.
Like it's got that SSD and no hard drive, so it has like one fan that's a movable part.
Yep.
So it's likely to not break. And if it does, I'm
don't
not going to
care.
cry about
and
it.
you don't have to lug around a big heavy laptop.
I'll go on eBay or Craigslist and buy another SSE 900 or something for like $120.
Yeah.
That's just phenomenal. You can't beat that. Plus, runs comp is like a champ.
Yep, it really does.
That's just ridiculous.
I know it.
I mean, it's
so
just
that'll be
stupid.
that. We'll both have our triple E's there being
I'll
our
have my
workhorses.
Triple E there,
Yep.
doing everything. I'll be twittering from the Triple E live pretty much the entire.
I'm looking forward to
entire
it.
time.
And if we can pull off live streaming,
We're
we
gonna
will.
give it a shot.
We have no idea how to do it fully.
We've
got
we've
ideas
thought it
though.
through. Yeah. But
So we'll see.
you know
All
how
right.
it goes.
Well, what do you say, Brian? I think that just about wraps up this episode of the Linux Action
Man,
Show.
boy, howdy does it ever.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for watching this week's episode. We'll be back. Well, I'm not exactly sure what the plan is for
Okay,
next week.
so
We'll be
next
testing.
week, I don't even know if we'll post anything. It's a really hard call. So there's going to be at least 2 videos coming out of next week. I'm going to be giving a session on why Linux, and in parentheses, still, and parentheses, sucks.
Desktop.
Why desktop Linux still sucks and what we can do to fix it.
Yep.
Follow up to last week's,
Yep.
or last year's. And then I'll be giving actually a full hour-long presentation on various desktop development options for making Linux desktop apps. Right?
That's the following day.
That's
right?
the following. That's on Sunday.
couple videos there. Probably just a quick recap of the fest itself, right? Probably do a
Yeah,
walk
so
and
we've
talk
got-
video.
We've got that. So and last year we did like a video where we had zebras that were bouncing around all over the
yeah,
place.
that's right.
So we could theoretically come away with nothing or 4 videos.
Yeah.
This is what could or could not happen.
We'll see what happens, and
if
we'll
you-
try to make a full regular episode, but it might be tight because not only is there the actual
Yep.
days, but then you have prep. You got to get all the gear together. You got to get mics, and we a lot of stuff we take from the studio. So we'll see.
Yeah. And if you are going to the fest, get there early. I'm going to be on right before lunch both days. So I'm on at
Nice.
11 o'clock both
Nice.
days. So which is great. That's great because we could do 11 o'clock. Right at noon, we wrap up and say, everybody,
Let's go to lunch.
to the cars, burgers and beer. Here we go.
Nice. I'm looking forward to
Both
that.
days, boom. And then we come back. We're in a little bit of a food coma, got a little bit of beer in us, and we wander around in a drunken
walk it off,
stupor.
yeah.
We just kind of
Walk it off,
walk into
dude. Walk it off.
We just walk into people's presentations. We kind of did this last year. Like, who was giving the presentation? It was Ted. Reverend Ted was giving a presentation. It was last year or the year before, and we were a little bit inebriated. We just kind of wandered into his presentation 5 minutes in, and we're like, "Hey, Ted!"
Yeah.
And we just kind of like sat on a countertop. We're like, "How you doing?" And then he starts talking, and he was just giving a good presentation. It was on
We derailed the whole
cloud
thing.
development, and I'm like, "I've got a question. I'm just gonna interrupt. Hey, Ted, what are you doing?"
We're
It
kinda
was
jerks like that.
fantastic. Yeah, I felt like a real jerk afterwards, but I had a good time.
All right, so we hope to see you there, and thanks so much, everyone, for tuning into this episode.
Oh, were we still recording?
We are.
Oh, nice. Later, everybody.